Hi guys, welcome back to this week's vlog. So today I'm talking about my C-section and NICU time that the baby boys had, and I guess my overall recovery and experience and how I am adjusting to a toddler and twin boys. Before I get started, Ashlyn is upstairs fighting sleep, so if you hear her, don't freak out. I'm not abusing her. She's just fighting her nap. You guys know that I had the baby boys on September 26th, if you follow me on social media and all that. But I didn't have contractions until, well, starting the 25th. So around like 8 p.m. on September 25th, I started having Braxton Hicks contractions that lasted around 2 hours, which was insane. And they didn't hurt very bad, so I waited for a really long time before I went to the hospital. And literally the only reason why I went to the hospital is because how close together they were. But I wasn't like screaming, dying in pain, and everything was okay as far as that goes. But I drove myself to the hospital while I drove to my sister's house because I was afraid that it was gonna get worse. And I did need somebody's support, obviously, so I went and picked her up. And I just had her drive the rest of the way in case it got worse and then I had to like crash into a tree or something. I really wasn't expecting for the doctor to tell me I was in labor, honestly, because I've been to the hospital before for Braxton Hicks, like when I thought that they were just really close together and I was like concerned about it. And of course I get sent home every time. And they always try to tell you just don't come unless you're bleeding or unless your water broke. They try to tell you, to take a warm bath and drink lots of water and everything like that because they just really don't want you to come if it's just Braxton Hicks. But that's what it was. It felt like Braxton Hicks, and I was like, obviously I just need to get checked, and if I'm at a 4, then you'll admit me, just like last time. Got wheeled to the operating room. I got the spinal. Just to let you know, if you're having a C-section or if you end up having one, I think the spinal was more painful than the epidural, because I don't really know why, but it took longer for one thing, and it felt like he was pushing the needle into my back like over and over again. And within like 2 minutes or 5 minutes, I would say, I got this rush of dead weight, heavy numbness, and my legs felt like 300 pounds. And it took like 5 people to move my body like back on the table. I want to say within like 15 minutes or so of him doing surgery, Ezra came out. He was 5.5 pounds and immediately was surrounded by nurses, and they were all trying to get him to breathe better. 2 minutes after that, Raleigh came out, and same thing, they were trying to help him breathe better because they noticed right away it was like his whole stomach was just like pumping really hard, trying really hard to get his own air, and they weren't doing a good job breathing. So they were immediately rushed to the NICU. I did not have that planned, of course, because my whole pregnancy was healthy, so I thought nothing like that was going to happen, and I was 36 weeks when they were born. And it was like, it was fine. I mean, the whole time there was no concerns. They were both breached. Not that that mattered because I was having a C-section anyway, but I just wasn't expecting that. And I just laid there for about another 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and they wheeled me to the NICU immediately just to see them, but I still didn't even hold my boys. I didn't get to really touch them either because they were in the warming beds, and they already had all these wires and machines on them to help them breathe, and they had I guess later, like the next day or two, they discovered they had jaundice. So the entire stay for me was okay. The C-section part went really well. The spinal hurt, but I recovered really fast. The next day I was walking, I had no swelling. My scar looked really great, I guess because he cut in the same spot, so it looked like, literally, it looked like I never got cut open again. Like it's already back to normal, like the way it was. And I was able to take a shower. It was hard to be a NICU mom because they didn't really explain anything to you while you're there. They just tell you what's wrong with your babies, but they don't tell you like how long they're gonna be in there and all that stuff. which is the main question you want to know. At least my hospital didn't tell me. I don't know how others are with that, but they really couldn't give me a specific date as to when the boys were going to be able to go home. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at myself in the camera. I should look at the actual camera, but I can't. So Ezra was there for 7 days. He was starting to look great on the 5th day, but he had to do circumcision, and then they kept him overnight for that. So that's why it ended up being about 7 days that he was there. Discharge took forever, but I finally got him dressed and in his car seat, and I came home, and our first night together was, I can't even remember. The days are mashing in together. So he did great, though. I don't really think there was much to complain about. The only thing that I am having trouble with is sleeping, which is, you know, it's obvious when you're having newborns that you're not going to have like good sleep anymore. But the problem is that I know why I'm not having sleep is because the hospital wakes them up every 3 hours to feed them. And they're on like clockwork, like very, very strict schedule because that's their job. And for me, I personally would like my babies to sleep as long as possible and let them tell me when they're hungry. Why the hell wake your kid up? I mean, I just personally think it's dumb. They're waking up every 3 hours. Like I said, I'm trying to break the pattern that the hospital started of them getting up every single freaking 3 hours. So it's about, I stay up until 11:30 to midnight range, which I'm exhausted, but I stay up so that it's not as annoying if I'm woken up, you know? So I just stay up and wait for them, wait for that time, and then I feed them and hope. I'm starting to hope that they can just be fed at midnight or 12:30 or so and then be done and stay asleep until about 8:30 in the morning, which is how long I need. But right now, they are waking up around 4:30 a.m. So that's a horrible time for me. It's like the worst time. It's like my dead zone. Like, it's the time that I'm the most asleep, I'd say. Like, and it drives me nuts. I hate waking up. I honestly hate it. I'm having like such a hard time feeling like I'm so exhausted all the time. But I think it's going to get better. They're eating great. They're eating 2 ounces each unless they're like super tired. They only take like one every 2 to 3 hours. But other than that, they're good. Both of the things on their belly buttons came out. Their circumcisions look amazing. And they're doing great. They're adjusting pretty well. Ashlyn's adjusting pretty well. She kind of minds her business. It's like as if they're not even here. And it really is because they do sleep like 20 hours a day. So you don't really notice that they're here. And as for me, how I'm adjusting to everything, like I said, I'm just really exhausted. And I have postpartum depression again. And it's not actually as bad as last time. And I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be as bad as last time because, you know, I had that experience of it and I kind of knew what to expect. But the other day, I just like really, really, really couldn't stop crying and I felt like I couldn't juggle it all. And feeding them is a little bit difficult because they take forever and it like frustrates me, and it's just a whole frustrating, it's just really frustrating. Honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I'm just not a fan of the newborn phase. And I know that's a lot of people's favorites, but because, you know, they're so easy, they're sleeping all the time. But for me, I really like my child to interact with me, and I really like, I don't know, it just makes me feel better when they're, you know, more aware. And I know, of course, that phase is coming, so I'm trying to enjoy this while I can. Because they are really cute and precious, and I love them to death. I don't feel disconnected from them. I just know that I have depression again. So today I'm actually going to the doctor, and I'm hoping she can get me on medication, like now, because I have depression anyway, and it's something that I wanted to do for such a long time, and I've just always found a way to just like forget about it or make excuses or say like, oh, I'm just not depressed enough. But I am a depressed person, and I need this medication really bad. And maybe one day I'll have my shit together and I won't need it, but for now I do, and I'm not ashamed of that. As far as having more kids again, This has definitely been something that I'm thinking about, that I'm reconsidering, because I figured, you know, I have twins, I have a daughter now, I'm only 20 years old, I know that I'm gonna want babies again, but after realizing really what my body goes through and how I feel after every time I have a baby, that it's just not really worth it to go through that again. I have 2 boys and a daughter, and I really, you know, there's a huge part of me that's like, well, the only thing that is going to get you to have a kid is if your husband really wants one, which I don't have a husband, but a lot of people get talked into having more kids if the husband really wants them, and especially if enough time goes by. So I don't want to say set in stone that I'm not having more kids, but I think for now I will definitely say, like, if I do, it won't be for another like 5 years. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and just comment down below if you guys have any suggestions for my next video, and I'll see you in my next weekly vlog.